You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. So, 2,400 people in Portland, Oregon are being told to get tested for HIV, hepatitis B, and C because of a possible infection control breach linked to a possible exposure by an anesthesiologist. Now, they say 2,400 people who were patients of two healthcare providers, Providence and Legacy Health, are potentially affected and have been advised to take tests out of an abundance of caution. Providence Willamette Falls Medical Center in Oregon City said in a statement that 2,200 of their patients and two patients at Providence Portland Medical Center have been informed. They say the actions of this physician might have put patients at a low risk of exposure to possible infections, including hepatitis B, C, and HIV. If you're worried about bloodborne pathogens, I would also check for syphilis as well. I'd throw an RPR test on there. Just me. The spokesperson said that the possible exposures were a result of somebody working for a third-party contractor, the Oregon Anesthesiology Group, who worked at Legacy Mount Hood Medical Center from December 2023 to May of this year. The anesthesiologist is no longer employed by Oregon Anesthesiology Group. The company, according to NBC News, said the test would be offered for free. If a patient tests positive, Providence will reach out to discuss their test results and next steps, i.e. don't go to Facebook. Just come to them and they'll tell you what to do. I understand if you're ticked off. This would not be good news. Legacy Health is contacting 211 patients treated at the Legacy Mount Hood Medical Center who may have been infected. Legacy said this was an isolated situation linked to, again, Oregon Anesthesiology Group. They said upon learning of this situation, we immediately suspended the provider, launched a comprehensive investigation in accordance with regulations and with our policies and procedures. Now, the Oregon Anesthesiology Group statement said that it had suspended the physician after launching their own investigation, although a previous paragraph said the person was fired. They said even though the risk of infection was low, new protocols and procedures have been put in place to prevent similar incidents in the future. So what the hell happened? Well, I can't speak as to what happened there, but I could speak as to what has happened previously when an anesthesiologist or anesthesiology provider might have been involved in an infectious control breach. So if you remember, back in the, was it 2004 or 2006, there was a gastroenterology clinic in Las Vegas where there was a hepatitis outbreak. And what had happened is the nurse anesthetist used a technique that we don't do. We used to do inappropriately, but we don't do. It's stupid. And they did this technique that unfortunately exposed multiple people to hepatitis. Now, I remember being at that clinic training, and prior there was a full-blown anesthesiologist with full-blown IV tubing, and so I never saw that practice being done. But rumor has it, Medicare decided to bundle anesthesiology with the payment for the procedure. So spending money on a separate anesthesiologist got expensive, so a nurse anesthetist was cheaper. And I guess the tubing also might have been too expensive, and who knows what happened. I unfortunately, greed set in and lack of proper protocol. And the nurse anesthetist did this technique where you have the needle, you have the IV port, the little port in the hand, okay, or within the arm. And you have the medication that you need to suction up into a syringe, and then you need to plunge it and apply it or dispense it into the port. Now, when you have IV tubing, there's a lot of separation. You could inject medicine into a port on the IV tubing, and there's no blood contact with the patient. But when you have a little needle port on the hand without the tubing, there could be some backsplash in that port. The other mistake was there was the medicine was drawn up not by a fresh needle each time, but the needle was left in the bottle and the syringe was changed out. Well, if you put a syringe, or maybe not even change out, well, when you put the syringe on the port and there's a little bit of blood, and then you go back to the bottle and you try to suck up more, you now exposing it, you now have exposed, you transfer blood. And so Teva got sued for it was a propofol anesthetic for multi-use vial, and it was ridiculous. And I think it was. So I wonder if with what happened in these Oregon hospitals is the anesthesiologist used a similar technique where they just had the needle in the vial. I don't think they do multi-dose vials anymore in the OR as a result of what happened in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I believe everything's supposed to be single use. So it might have been a completely different process and protocol. But whenever you see something like this, it means either the provider possibly infected themselves, or they were infectious and, contagious and possibly exposed patients multiple times, or they used a technique that exchanged bodily fluid from patient to patient. And in 2024, that just shouldn't be happening. There are so many protocols. There were so many mistakes made in the past. Everybody should have learned from it. So I like I said, I doubt what happened here was what happened back in, I think it was 2004. I forget, in Vegas, but still ridiculous. If you're one of those patients, make sure you get yourself checked out, and please add syphilis to the test. 1-877-DOC-Daliah.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. And big thanks to Daniel, our producer. Okay, so I keep being asked by people, all right, why is this such a big deal now? Why now is the media finally talking about Biden? Why? And we spoke about how there was a suppression that finally got lifted. And once CNN and MSNBC and The View and everybody got the thumbs up saying, okay, it's okay to talk about. Now, it might not have been one person. It might have been they copycatted. Once they saw the suppression lifted and one media outlet covered, they're like, okay, well, now we're good. Now we're safe. So I think that was part of it. But another issue that has come into play is the integrity of media. And the media has a very, very important role and responsibility. Okay, if you are sharing an opinion, you have to say it's your opinion. You can't pretend like you're reporting on fact or reporting on news. Like, I can't tell you that the COVID vaccine is 1,000% safe. That's a lie. I have to say COVID vaccine has good safety data, but it also has side effects. And so you need to speak to your doctor about using it and, deciding what's best for you, because COVID has risks, but also the vaccine could have risks. Right? I owe it to the public to be honest. If COVID is killing, I have to say that. If the vaccine has caused deaths, I have to tell you that too. Otherwise, I am suppressing the news. Otherwise, I'm filtering. I'm cherry picking. Now, when I do have an opinion, and I've given you guys my opinion, that's an opinion. And so, the media has a responsibility. But we have seen, and what makes this story about Biden bigger than it is, because we all know Biden has had issues, and I know everybody's going, well, it's a cover-up, it's Watergate, it's cover-up. It's bigger than that. The big crux of what has happened the last couple weeks is many of the media outlets, especially the liberal ones, that were criticizing people bringing up Biden's health, or quickly pivoting to Trump and not covering Biden appropriately. They've been outed. And if a news agency loses their integrity, if people think that what they're getting is false news or fake news or just one-sided, everybody thinks that the Republicans just want to listen to Fox and Newsmax and the Democrats just want to listen to CNN and MSNBC. Most Americans are not the extremes. It's a small amount who are the extremes. Most Americans are moderate. They may be moderate Republican. They might be moderate Democrat. They may be conservative. They may be liberal. But they still want the facts. They don't want to be lied to. Yeah, you have some people that go, you know what? I don't even want to hear about it. Just tell me, Trump's hair is real. Okay, I don't care. I guess they're saying now he might have had plugs. I don't give a damn. I don't care. And there's some people who really, really want to know about that. But the average American, they really want to know what's going on with our hostages in Gaza. They want to know what's happening with China and Taiwan, what's happening with Russia, what's happening with our border, what's happening with our schools, what's happening with our safety. And so where do we go? We go to CNN. We go to MSNBC. We go to Fox. And so the reason why this is such a big story now is all these sound bites from all these media outlets saying he's fine. Trump is the one with dementia. Biden didn't make a gaffe. Trump made a gaffe. All that pivoting and deflecting and suppressing now has come out into the open. And a very interesting piece from the Washington Post. I think everybody in the media needs to read this. This comes from the Washington Post, how the media sleepwalked into Biden's debate disaster. This is being written by Megan McArdle. And so not only is Biden's health a disaster for the country and the Democratic Party, but it's also a disaster for the media outlets that weren't honest and upfront. As I said weeks ago, it showed the suppression. It showed there was a suppressing element. Let me see. There was one part where she said that she said, I'm told that journalists who started asking about Biden's age would suddenly be given access to normally unavailable senior staffers for denials, then deluged by allies insisting he was at the top of his game in private. She says it was genuinely hard to know how to balance those testimonials against reports of possibly isolated lapses. She said the White House made it hard to get context of the videos that had showed, again, proof of issues. And so I'm not going to read her whole thing, but in her final 2 paragraphs, this is what she wrote. And I'm not saying this to defend Fox News, but the dichotomy, the strike contrast between news outlets was dumbfounding. It was, this has always happened, and I think the American people deserve better. And she says the same. She says, as a result, viewers of Fox News understood the president's condition better than our audiences, which ought to be a huge wake-up call for us. She says, we don't have the exact problem conservatives imagine, but we do have a problem. And the only way to fix it is to add more viewpoint diversity to our newsrooms. We should do this not for the benefit of conservative journalists or politicians, but for the benefit of our readers. When our newsrooms lopsidedly support one party, our readers miss much of the story. In this case, nearly all of it. She says we need conservatives inside the building, helping us overcome our natural biases instead of outside complaining about them. We owe our readers and our country nothing less. Megan McArdle, good for you. Just like in medicine, you cannot have biased doctors. You can't have biased teachers. All right. You have to remember who your customer is. And now Fox News is gloating while all these other, Fox News, it's interesting because people will tell me, Daliah, you need to watch this person on Fox News. I can't stand him. I'm like, well, why can't you stand him? Oh, they're this liberal. And I go, you want liberal views on Fox News. You want to see what the same thing. You want conservatives on liberal stations as well. First of all, no news should be liberal or conservative. Okay, it should be neutral. But sadly, that's just the way it is. But if you have a news outlet that has a large liberal audience, aren't they intrigued by what's going on the other side? You know how shocked people were to find out that Trump said Project 2025 was abysmal? I mean, I hear conservatives say Trump doesn't want anything to do with that. Yeah, what he said it's delusional or ridiculous or so. I mean, don't the liberals need to know about that before they continue? I mean, their commander in chief was having major gaffes, and really only conservatives notice that. Yeah, the problem is she implies that you weren't able to have that freedom to talk about it or to cover it. In the media, we're in America. We should be able to cover anything we like. We're not supposed to lie. We have a responsibility. But if I want to talk about how the hostages are still in Gaza, I should have the freedom to do that. If I want to talk about how our border is bringing in individuals who have criminal backgrounds, who could be raping and killing our citizens, our children, like that one girl that was just found in a Houston Creek and another one who was raped. And we should be able to talk about that. But when you have the amazing gift of freedom of speech and you have a media outlet and you take advantage and you blow it and you deceitfully cover something up or try to hide something, but people ask me about these radio stations. There were a couple of radio stations that are now in the news because purportedly they were giving the honest, raw interview, but they were edited. The interviews were edited. Now, if they're giving an edited pre-record, you could say that. This is a pre-record. There might have been some editing because of a sneeze or a burp or, a misstep with a word or an accidental cuss word. But if you are advertising that you are giving an interview, and an interview means it's raw, and then you edit it, or the White House asks you to redact things. Okay, where's your integrity? So media outlets need to be fair and balanced. That's what the American people need. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah and on Facebook, the Dr. Daliah Show, as well as YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So we have some good news for Novo Nordisk's Ozempic, the weight loss shot. A couple interesting studies have come out. One says that it cuts dementia risk compared to Merck's Januvia. Trials have shown that the semaglutide shot can lower one's risk of dementia. I know people are saying put Biden on it, but no, I don't think it'll help at this point. All right, but back to this story here. We know it could cut the risk of cardiovascular events. We could cut the risk of kidney disease. Now it's saying that the type 2 diabetic drug Ozempic, remember, Wegovy is the weight loss counterpart, but people are using Ozempic for weight loss when they don't have diabetes. But much of our data is on Ozempic and in diabetics because that's who was using the medication for years before everybody jumped on the weight loss bandwagon. Now, the research was designed to demonstrate if Ozempic could cause neurological problems. Instead, it showed that it produced a 48% decline in dementia when compared to Merck's type 2 diabetes drug, Januvia. The Oxford study also showed, according to fiercepharma.com, that Ozempic provided a 28% reduction in nicotine misuse when compared to Januvia and Pfizer's older type 2 drugs, Glucotrol or glipizide. So we know that Ozempic can stop cravings for food, stop cravings for smoking, stop cravings for alcohol. So this study, published in Lancet's eClinical Medicine Journal, looked at electronic health records from TriNet X, looking at 100,000 patients from the start of 2017 to May 2021. And they compared Ozempic, or semaglutide, to 3 other diabetic drugs, including Eli Lilly's Jardiance. I don't think Mounjaro was a part of the study. So the research team looked at the risks of 22 neurological and psychiatric outcomes within 1 year of treatment. Prior studies have determined, obviously, that diabetes could put you at higher risk for dementia. So what if we controlled diabetes? But there's a lot of medications controlling it. So it was very interesting that the Novo Nordisk drug did better. Now, another study, there are other studies looking at Alzheimer's and to see if the drug can limit Alzheimer's disease. Novo expects results from the studies to come out in 2026. So that could be pretty huge. Another study talks about how Ozempic and these other GLP-1 drugs could reduce arthritis symptoms. Makes sense. You lose weight, you could minimize your arthritis and your back pain. And so people have reported anecdotally, meaning this isn't a scientific study, but anecdotally, meaning patient reporting, that they are having fewer arthritic issues as they're losing weight. According to Dr. Elizabeth Ortiz, as reported by Fox News, she's a Texas-based rheumatologist and clinical advisor at Well Theory. She says it has been well established that autoimmune patients who have the obesity fare worse than those who are at healthy weight. So any improvements in joint pain or joint inflammation are likely due to a combination of factors. So today, a lot of good news for these GLP-1 agonists for weight loss, but, and again, I am going to put in my big but, figuratively and literally, on this. We cannot get too excited about these studies without understanding that our access to these medications is severely limited. And we don't have the studies showing what happens when people can't get their Ozempic or can't get their GLP-1. And all of a sudden they have a rapid rebound in their weight. And I have said this from day one, and I'm going to continue to say this. Everybody on these drugs need to be very thoroughly educated on how to take the drugs, such that if the medicine goes bye-bye for some reason, they don't rebound quickly in their weight. Why would the medicine go bye-bye? Well, one, there's massive shortages of it. And diabetics can't even get their medication. I love the fact that people with diabetes taking Ozempic could have lower risk of Alzheimer's and lower risk of dementia, and then now they're studying Alzheimer's specifically. But what good is that if the person with diabetes can't get the medication because it's in short supply? They can't make enough of it fast enough. Not for the millions of people as well as Hollywood that wants to take it every single week. Another reason why you might not get it is it's expensive. Even though Bernie Sanders wants to, put the pharmaceutical company's feet to the fire on why it's so expensive when it costs, a study found it only costs $5 a month to make, 75 cents a dose. I don't see prices going down anytime soon when there's more demand than supply. Prices won't go down unless there's more supply. So if you can't afford it, you're not going to be able to continue to stay on it. How many people could afford $1,600 a month? At its cheapest, if insurance doesn't pay, about $1,000 a month. You have $12,000 a year that you could spend on this drug that works temporarily. A certain percentage will keep the weight off. But who does that? Well, let me finish. The third reason why you might not be able to get the medication is your insurance company says, we're out. We're not covering it anymore. And that's probably one of the biggest issues where patients say, yeah, I was on it last year. And I go, why did you stop? Any side effects? Nope. It just the insurance didn't pay for it anymore. Or my company had to switch insurances because insurance got too expensive. So they chose a cheaper plan, and that cheaper plan doesn't cover the GLP-1 agonists. And then fourth are the side effects. I'm having patients tell me they cannot have a bowel movement unless they use multiple enemas. How many years can you do that for? You need to be able to potty on your own. But if you get pancreatitis or ileus or gallbladder disease or other issues from using these medications, that's a problem. So now what should you be doing, which I've said before on the show, but I don't mind repeating. If you're on Ozempic or Wegovy or Mounjaro or Zepbound or Rybelsus or taking any of these medications for weight loss, whether you have diabetes or not, first and foremost, don't be on the maximum dose if you don't need the maximum dose. Use this medication as something to curb your food cravings and to curb that food noise while you are doing the best diet possible for your body. Vegetables, fish, complex carbohydrates and fiber, and a very balanced diet. You need to eat when you're on these medications. One of the reasons why people are losing the money so fast is they're skipping meals. How successful is skipping meals? Well, for a very small subset of the population, intermittent fasting does well. But for other people, once they eat again, the weight comes back. Also, you need to be exercising. Your metabolism is going to drop substantially if you're not eating and you're not exercising. So you need to build up that muscle so that when you do go off the medication, your muscle is still burning ATP, hence calories, hence weight. And again, don't have the GLP agonist, the driver, as I use, Jesus take the wheel. No, you need to still be in control and let these medications be an adjunct to help you. But people are going on it saying, I'm just going to max it with like Ozempic, the 2 milligrams. And then when it stops working at plateau, I'll deal with it then. Yeah, I had a patient call in asking for a stimulant phentermine weight loss drug because her Ozempic stopped working. Well, then what happens when the phentermine stops working and you plateau on that? You need a third medication? We're not there yet. There's a process. So I'm glad these medications look like they lower these issues, but if you rebound weight, your risks come right back, if not more. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I get patient after patient calling in saying they're tired. They are tired. They're tired all the time. They're worried. What do they do first? What do they do next? And so for those of you that struggle with being tired, we just need to quickly review some of the things that could be going on that I want you to get checked out. I'm tired. And today, I blame the cats and the dogs. One kitty cat, she's up in the middle of the night. They're nocturnal. She wants to rub tummy. She's like, okay, now it's time for my rub tummy. So and she'll like hit me to wake me up. So I rub her. Another cat likes to sit there and suck on my fingers. She just wants to sit there and lick and suck on my fingers in the middle of the night. Like I'm trying to sleep. This is ridiculous. Well, then once they wake, then the dog wants to get up. The dog's like, wait a second. If the cats aren't eating their eats, then I can eat their eats. So then the dog jumps up and down. And so I usually struggle in the middle of the night because the farm is, it's party time in the middle of the night. And then two of my cats have sex and you hear it and it's ridiculous. They make noise. Don't ask. But last night I noticed that my phone kept going off. Bzz, bzz, bzz. Instagram, Threads, Facebook Messenger. Somebody tried to call me on Facebook Messenger. I don't know what the heck was going on. And so one thing is if your phone is near your bed, one, that could wake you up. But B, I learned how to tune out my phone, and my husband sleeps completely through it. But the dog and the cats probably get triggered by that. And then they're like, oh, okay, mommy, you need to get up. Your phone's ringing. In fact, one time my phone was ringing. I was asleep, and a friend was calling me. And the phone didn't wake me up, but the dog did. The dog's like, you got to answer the phone. Oh, you're up? Well, if you're up, I guess time to eat. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. So one is maybe get your phone away from the bed. Now, my phone is my alarm clock. You could change that. You could go back old school and get an alarm clock. They sell them still at Walmart or wherever. You could get an alarm clock. So maybe get the phone away from the bed. I still don't trust the radiation from phones being by our face anyway, in our heads. So that's one thing. Another thing that could be making you tired is your sleep behavior in terms of your oxygen. And do you have sleep apnea? Are you cutting off air when you sleep? Do you sound like this? When you sleep. If you do, that means you have airway resistance. Just like a fart is airway resistance. You make more noise depending on how tight and how much you change the orifice. That's why it blows my mind how people could use it like a trumpet. They really know, how to make music when it comes to gas. But when air has to go through, narrow passages, or it has to change its conduction, it can cause resonating sounds. And so when I hear somebody snore, to me, not that I'm around a bunch of people when they snore, I'm married, happily married, but it reminds us that there's an airway restriction. And so many of you might be waking up exhausted because you're not getting enough air. Or even if you're not snoring, you're still losing oxygen in your sleep, and you might need that improved. So if you're really tired and you find that's not improving, get yourself checked for sleep apnea and get that rectified. Thyroid conditions, other hormone conditions can make you tired, even hyperthyroid. Now, when somebody says that they have they've been losing weight and their metabolism is crazy. I go, but are you tired all the time? Yeah, I think your thyroid is hyperactive. Why? Well, you can't be on hyperdrive without getting exhausted eventually. So low thyroid and high thyroid could also manifest as fatigue. You could have a heart condition, and that could be manifesting as fatigue. If your heart is not working properly and you don't have good cardiac output, you're going to be tired. If you have a lung issue like COPD or asthma or pneumonia, and you're not getting enough oxygen, you're going to be tired. If you are anemic, you don't have enough iron, your periods are heavy, or you have a GI bleed, an ulcer, or you're bleeding rectally, and if you're losing blood, losing iron, that could also make you tired. Your alcohol use. If you like your wine, right, with your dinner, and you like your wine when you cook, and you like your wine after work, and you like your happy hour, and you're using alcohol to go to sleep, you might not be getting very good sleep. So that could also in turn make you tired. Your medications, I think, are a biggie. I am blown away at how many people are taking Benadryl in the morning for their allergies. And they don't realize it because the fatigue doesn't set in until they get to work. And they're like, oh, my God, I'm bored at work, so I'm tired. And I'm like, what do you take for your allergies? Well, Benadryl. Okay, Benadryl makes you sleepy. And it's funny because Benadryl says you can take it every 4 to 6 hours. If you're having an allergy, yes, the dosing allows you to take it during the day, but you can't drive while on it. It's sedating. Not to mention some of your antihistamines that you don't think are sedating could be sedating. I've had people tell me their Zyrtec or their Claritin makes them tired. So your medication could be doing that. Your beta blockers. Whenever I prescribe a beta blocker for your blood pressure or for your heart, I'll oftentimes tell you to take it at night because it slows down your heart. It can make you sleepy. Some of you use marijuana. And for some of you, marijuana is very stimulating. For some of you, it makes you sleepy. Well, yes, there are certain strains, indica, that may relax you, may make you sleepy. But just because your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. doesn't mean that medicine is out of your system. And marijuana can be cumulative. So if you have chronic fatigue, you might want to check, what you're smoking or what you're chewing or gumming or in terms of marijuana. You might have chronic fatigue. Viruses, Epstein-Barr, COVID, viruses have been known to cause chronic fatigue. For those of us that got mono, I got mono in medical school. It's funny because I have a lot of energy, but sometimes I go through phases where I need a nap. And I need a nap all week long. And then other times I go through phases where I don't need a nap. I have energy. And so sometimes you kind of wax and wane. That, again, could be objectified, not objectified but there's objective testing to see if that could possibly be, an issue with your Epstein-Barr virus titers. I think COVID has wrecked a lot of our energy. I think COVID is a big deal. Another thing that could be why you're tired is you're not exercising. If you're not exercising, then you're going to get more tired if you're sitting all day, if you're watching television, if you're on a computer. Another thing is your food you're eating. If you're eating food with a lot of sugar, you might get that little burst of energy for the first few minutes, and then eventually you're going to start getting tired. When your insulin levels are circulating, that can make you tired. Then, of course, cancer can make you fatigued. Cancer is hypermetabolic. So a lot of the energy has to go to the cancer, and eventually you get anemic and you get tired because the cancer is using up most of your resources. And then from a psychological standpoint, you could be depressed. If you're sad and you're not sleeping well, or you just don't really have the motivation or the drive or something to get your blood pumping, that might manifest into fatigue. And then we speak a lot about burnout and your job. If you don't like your job, and you're sitting there staring at the computer and you're like, I don't like my job, you're going to be tired. But me, it's great. I'm like, okay, I got to get up. I got to read my story, prep for my show. Then I got to see some patients. Then I got to deal with the kids. I got to go see one of my former students, and I have to do this and I have to do this. And I could get all excited about my day. So make sure you are excited about your day. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.